Hey, before you check out this video, maybe go check out the new Discord. It is in the description. Thank you, and let's get right into things. Guys, do you think we're in a civil war? Like, I'm not even kidding. Do you think we're actually in a civil war right now? Because if so, then I'm a little concerned with your ability to evaluate reality. But if you do think we're in a civil war, then maybe, just maybe, this woman's content is for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at what she has to say.
So everyone and their brother is weighing in on Colorado removing Donald Trump from the ballot. Now California is threatening to do the same by December 28th. But then Texas says, oh, hell no. If you are going to take Trump off the ballot, we are going to remove Biden from the ballot. And I expect there would be some other Republican states that would also follow suit on that. Now, it seems only one of the other Republican candidates.
So here's the thing. Ma'am, do you know why Trump was being removed from the ballot? For inciting riots on January 6th, for trying to incite an insurrection of the United States. The reason that people don't want Trump on the ballot is because he did things that were incongruous and not in keeping with being a United States president. Inciting an insurrection is incongruous with being a president in the United States, because one of the most important concepts for the U.S., one of our binding mythos, if you were to have it that way, is the concept of the peaceful transference of power. If you do not have the peaceful transference of power, you do not have the United States as we currently understand it. That's how our democracy works. That's how our republic works. We peacefully transfer power from one member in office to another every election cycle between multiple offices, and this is indicative of being part of a democracy. We don't have to have people fight tooth and nail for positions of power in government, because those positions of power in government are things that we, the people, get to decide on. That's how that works. That's why we are the nation that we are. If you don't like that, then you don't like America, and I guess you could just up and leave and go somewhere else if you truly don't like what this nation is.
And it's have a nutsack, and that's Vivek Ramaswamy, who stood up and said, I'll remove myself from the ballot if this is not overturned.
That's not having a nutsack. That's just being performative. So part of politics is the performance. It is the charisma check. It is the idea that you can boast enough to get people to agree with what you are saying, to get people to come to your side. That is part of politics. It is the theater of politics. And you may not like that part of politics, but it is 100% part of the modus operandi of American politics. It is the showmanship of it. We televise our debate in one of the most cutthroat and irredeemably illogical ways possible, because it makes for good television. Said Vivek's also losing anyway. Yeah, so what happens with Vivek is he can curry a lot of favor, especially for, I don't know, becoming the Trump VP, potentially, by showing this solidarity with a would-be opponent. It's a very, very good political move if you know for a fact that you're not going to win. Vivek knows he's not going to win. He's not popular enough, he's not well-positioned enough, and quite frankly, he's not smart enough. Not really.
By the Supreme Court. And then challenged the other three Republicans still in the race to do the same, but of course they declined. RFK came out and said, this should worry every single American. And it should. Now look, I don't care which side.
Why should it worry Americans when people who are not fit for being on the ballot are removed from the ballot? And I'm not saying not fit because of mental reasons or anything like that. I'm saying he's not fit for the ballot because he incited an insurrection. You're not fit for being on the ballot of a republic, of a democracy, if every action you take spits on the concept of those things.
Side you're on. I don't care if you love or hate Donald Trump, but you have to admit that this is wrong. And I'm
also, just real quick, before I forget it, remember that removing somebody from the ballot does not remove your ability to vote for them. Not just unfit, unqualified. Oh, I'm using them synonymously as far as I can tell. But it is true that he is removed from the ballot in Colorado. What is not true is that you cannot vote for him. There was an idiot who you've probably seen in my chat a few times, who tried to wax lyrical about how it's actually unconstitutional to remove somebody from the ballot. No, it's not. The concept of the ballots as we understand them was not how we did elections for the longest time in America. Anyway, I may not agree with certain things like the Green Party and Libertarian Party not even being able to be voted on in certain states like Georgia. I may not agree with that. But it's not unconstitutional to not have a name on a ballot. You can just vote for them anyway. If Donald Trump is so popular, he shouldn't need the assistance of the electoral system to get his votes. He should be able to get them very, very easily merely by being Donald Trump and people writing his name in.
I'm sure this will be overturned by the Supreme Court because at the end of the day, this is probably one of the most undemocratic things that 4 unelected officials could do. And that's taking your right to vote for the person that you want for president away from you.
So, it's interesting that she words it that way. Nobody's taking away your right to vote for Trump. Only idiots believe that. You have the ability to vote for whoever you want in America. That's how America works. You can just write in on the ballot who you want to vote for. Nobody is going to stop you. Nobody is going to stop you from writing in your ex-mom. Nobody cares. You can write in your dog, and it will be a legal vote.
Now, the issue here is this is not unprecedented. It's been done before. It was done to Abraham Lincoln. He was removed from like 10 states' ballots. Of course
And then he still won. So why should Donald Trump be any different?
he still won. But guess what followed a year later? The Civil War. So I was chatting with my husband about whether we're headed for civil war. And he said, you know, sometimes I think we're already in civil war. It just doesn't look the way we thought it would look.
How are we in civil war if nobody's fucking killing each other? That's what a war is. If it's on the territory that you exist in, within the territory, and only consuming the people in the territory you exist in, and there is violence to the scale that we would consider it war, that's civil war. A civil war requires some kind of combat. You can't have a civil war if you're all just LARPing. These people are all just LARPing.
We thought it would be guns and bombs and artillery and hand-to-hand combat, but it's not. It's technological warfare, which reminded me of General Flynn's book that I read, which is all about fifth-generation warfare, saying basically they will erode the moral fibers of our society from within without ever firing one single shot.
Okay. That's not war, though. That's not a civil war. That would be something different, but that's not a civil war. That's not how civil war works.
How will that be done? Social media. What's the first thing we do? Take to these apps to spread hate and dox one another every single day. I don't have the answer. But I do know that I've never seen our country so divided in my lifetime.
Do you know why our country is so divided? It's not all Russia, but a lot of it's Russia. Just a lot of it's Russia. We literally had a document from MI6 detailing the Russian plan to divide our country on wedge issues.
Never seen them dangle so many carrots of division and us gobble them up, taking the bait every single day at each other's throats. I don't know what it'll take to reach across the aisle and shake hands and realize that it's us against them, not...
Who is them, though? Us against them is a wonderful sentiment, but who is them here? I understand if you want to say that the politicians do not actually represent us. I agree with you there. But if you're going to say it's us versus them, you need to have a stable idea of who a them is. Because if it's just, again, the vague posting on us versus them, I don't know if we're fighting the same them. I don't know if your them is the Jews, or if your them is the politicians, or if it's the international bankers, which are just, you know, the Jews again. I don't know if it's that. I don't know who your enemy is. At all, woman.
Not Republicans against Democrats. But I do know that I have the ability to see it, that I do not have blinders on, and that many do. Because sometimes it's comfortable in the not knowing, because once your eyes are open to what's going on, you now have to stand against it.
Right, so what is going on? Now, if you're going to say they're eroding our moral fibers away, I'm going to have to ask what moral fibers are we eroding away? And if you're going to talk about things like gay marriage and trans people existing and, you know, things of that nature, then I'm going to have to ask, are we fighting the same enemy? Because last I checked, those are good things. But again, when you vague post about who your enemy is, I don't know who your enemy is. I can't figure that out.
It's time to take the blinders off. It's time to get a little bit uncomfortable so that maybe we can get our country back without some sort of 9/11 type experience happening.
So you want us to get our country back, but get it back from who and by what methods and, like, what does any of this mean? We need people like this to be more specific so that we actually know what the hell they're talking about. Because as it stands, this is a giant nothing bomb.
Because I know that's the fear. I just would hate for it to have to come to something like that to bring us back together, if it's even possible. So what do you say, America? Do you even think it's possible to come together? Think it's...
Yeah, if people stop trying to take away human rights, I think it's very possible.
Time to form a strategy. Love to hear your thoughts. Drop me a comment.
Alright, so I have a thought. I'm not going to drop you a comment, I'm dropping you a video. Here's my thought. You need to be a little more specific in what actions you think need to be taken, and what enemies you think are there, and what moral fibers you think are eroding. If you're not more specific in these things, then I get to fill in the blank in what you're talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and say your enemy is fascism. And the method that you want to take care of it is, you know, ultraviolence. And the political divide is on the right and left, and we want to save trans rights. But see, I don't think that you actually believe any of those things. But if you let me fill in the blank on it, I'll go ahead and pretend that that's all that there is to know and all there is to do. That's the thing, though. When you do nothing but vague post, I get to make up everything. I get to make up everything about your story. None of it matters. None of it has any substance. So the moral fiber being erased is that there aren't any fibers, or that there aren't enough femboys. Ela Klein says she's a Trump supporter, so she means the opposite. Yep. This is the people that are like, I'm not right or left, but I love me some Donald Trump. God, I'm just reminded of that person who got really angry at me in my comment section for using a southern accent in a derogatory way, and they're like, you're the reason why people don't like the blue-collar South. You're the reason that people make fun of them. I'm like, no! Ignorant Southerners are why the stereotype of ignorant Southerners exists. I know because I grew up around all of them, and I am one of them. If there's any accent I'm allowed to make fun of, it's mine. But, Jesus Christ. And of course, if we look at more stuff from the same person, we've got, like, don't drink the Kool-Aid, drink woke tears. Masculinity is disappearing. Is this by design? No. This is just a wackadoo. We don't have to actually care about the words she's saying. Because ultimately, none of it has any real substance. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Yeah, I think there was a giant nothing burger here that was meant to appeal to a right-wing audience who are already primed to listen to utter bullshit. Littermuse says, drink. So I shall. Insert end video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability that Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Blitzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you. I'm not saying that part. And Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.